Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of thecinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we have an epic match. It was the one that was destined years ago to take place specifically on this podcast. In this corner, the one to the left, we have a movie featuring the most memeable title since Snakes on a Plane, or at least most memeable featuring an animal since Snakes on a Plane. In the other corner, we have the third entry in an unexpectedly solid sequel trilogy, one that absolutely no one not named Sylvester Stallone was asking for. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a double feature review today. A double feature is number one. We're going to start with Cocaine Bear, and then we're going to move on to Creed 3. As always, we are going to start with an icebreaker question before moving into two spoiler-free reviews of each film. And then once we're done talking about the ins and outs of how well these films work, we'll make a choice, a tough choice, perhaps, of which film is the better movie.
And now, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Joining me today, as always, an award-winning Oklahoma filmmaker and co-host on the Cinematic Schematic, Laron Chapman. Laron, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Twice in 1 week. And the variety, we're going from Oscars to coked out animals to boxing matches all in 1 week.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man, it's a good time.
The jack of all trades. Doesn't matter the genre, I'm here for it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited because our other special guest, I like to imagine that he was actually a part of the story behind Cocaine Bear, in fact.
Me too.
Like, there's the tourist taking photos in the movie, and then we have our other guest, Curbside Chronicle editor, concert photographer, and, as we like to refer to him as Oklahoma's favorite son, Nathan Poppe. Nathan, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me again. I know it's been a minute, but happy to be back.
Well, you know, I thought since we talked about the God of Thunder, it was only natural that you talked about drugged up animals. The connection's pretty strong, right?
It is so straightforward. It's crazy. Obviously, I would need to be back to talk about this bear and his cocaine.
It's very important. I can't wait to talk with you a little more about how you perhaps maybe photographed the cocaine bear. This is based on a true story, ladies and gentlemen, after all.
Loosely. so loosely.
So loosely. Oh, my gosh. Before we get into the conversation today, looking at two of these films back to back, I wanted to note that if you're listening to the show and you enjoy the conversation, make sure to support us by subscribing and leaving us a rating and review on your preferred podcast app. Why is that? Well, someone's got to pay for the cocaine to keep the bear happy, okay? With that said, we're going to start things off like we always do with this week's icebreaker question. Gentlemen, it's not super often that we talk about animals on the big screen, the titular animals specifically. Every once in a while we get one, Anaconda, A Bug's Life, perhaps. Not super often though. Most of them are kind of like left to the Sci-Fi Channel. Growing up, I have a huge soft spot for movies named after animals. And it made me realize, wow, I don't think, Laron, you and I have ever talked about this topic. And Nathan, you and I certainly have never talked about our favorite films featuring an animal.
I would have remembered this. Yes.
Yeah. Very important. So I have to ask you, what is your favorite film starring or featuring an animal that is also included in the title? Laron Chapman.
Well, it's already kind of been referenced slightly here, but Anaconda is probably my favorite creature feature that has the animal in the title and delivers on the B-movie thrills. I can still watch that movie and have a blast with it. The sequel, not so much, but there's just a lot going on in that, and it's a blast. So Anaconda for me.
I was sure you were going to say Where the Crawdads Sing.
That one's scary for different reasons, but yeah, Anaconda, and also Deep Blue Sea. It doesn't have the title of the animal in it, but I think very similar, in the sense that you're giving the animal a kind of heightened advantage in some capacity.
Deep Blue Sea and Jaws, because Jaws also doesn't have the animal title in the name, but then
the sea's in it, though, so I guess it's,
Yeah. Well, it's just, there's a reason the animals are not featured in the title often because what do you say? Shark? No, shark is boring. Clearly, shark is not a very interesting title because we don't get shark for Jaws or Deep Blue Sea or any of those movies. We have to combine it with a tornado, and we get Sharknado.
It's a great title. It's not a great movie, but it's a great title.
I always forget that the anaconda in Anaconda is Christian name is Gary Anaconda. So that definitely checks out.
Yeah.
That's a perfect choice.
Related in any way to Angela Anaconda, that show from like the 2000s or the 90s?
What even is that?
I don't. I just know there was a short for it in front of the Digimon movie. That's all I know about that show.
Yes, there was.
Listen, Laron, low hanging fruit, man. Lyle, Crocodile. Come on.
And these are missed opportunities. I went too far. I'm nostalgic for J-Lo and Ice Cube and John Voight before he turned into a crazy conservative white winger. So
yeah,
those
were the days.
Those were the days.
Mm-hmm. That is a good one. Nathan Poppe, what is your selection?
Oh man, this is easy. Air Bud.
Which one though?
Wait, which one?
The original. Because
not Air Buddies.
No, there's too many to count there.
He goes to space. He travels in time.
No dog is that talented. It just gets unbelievable after a certain point. But
he played basketball. That was far enough, guys.
I still use the line from that movie. Ain't nothing in the rule book says a dog can't play basketball. It works for anytime I pick up a basketball. So I'm going to have to go with that. Just the strength of that one line.
Well, anytime that, you're playing a game and you need to cite why the rules are BS, there's not a rule that says a dog can't play this game. So I don't understand. Listen, guys, I mean, lots of great options here. We got Planet of the Apes, which is one that I like quite a bit. There's Dog Day Afternoon. There's no actual dogs in that movie, but it does have a fish called Wanda. Sorry, if you're asked, these are very random. I actually would say I would actually go with A Bug's Life because I think it's a sweet movie.
I prefer it to Ants, but I do like Ants as well.
Ants is clever. That's one of those DreamWorks was trying to do counter programming at the time, but people didn't understand that, so it just looked like a knockoff. But it really was a different
different story.
Did it come out at the same time?
Same year, I think.
It's either same. It was the same 18-month period for sure.
Armageddon, Sudden Impact thing where you're not even sure which one
which is which.
Or White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen was in the same year. Yeah.
Snakes on a Train coming out the same day as Snakes on a Plane. That threw some people, I'm sure.
Next.
That bums me out. It's funny. My favorite thing to do sometimes is stopping at Redbox just to see all the knockoff movies that get released at the same time as the blockbusters. Mm-hmm. And you get some really interesting ones in there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what is your favorite movie featuring an animal title? Is it The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Is it The Lion King? Is it any superhero movie ever made? Is it The Butterfly Effect? Let us know by sending us an email at thecinematropolis@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing your feedback. With all that said, though, let's go ahead and jump into our spoiler-free review of the first movie in our competition today, Cocaine Bear.
Millions of dollars worth of cocaine fell from the sky this morning in Knoxville, Tennessee.
There's more of this out there. They dumped it somewhere.
I'm looking for my daughter.
Forest is a dangerous place.
Hey, Henry, check it out. Something got into it. A deer, maybe.
A lot of cocaine was lost. I need you to go and get it.
No, don't eat that, don't eat that. Let's see what kind of effect that has on you.
The bear. It fucking did cocaine. A bear did cocaine.
Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a cocaine bear in this movie.
Whoa.
Yes.
Did you see the same movie as me?
The bear does find cocaine. So I need listeners to understand that. That does happen, in the film.
Those two things do occur.
I normally start describing the movie with an IMDb synopsis, but I think Nathan just laid it out there for me.
There's the plot, y'all.
That's the plot. A bear discovers cocaine, and then shenanigans ensue.
I never told you guys. I actually named the movie for the production company. They were just racking their brain trying to come up with that one. I walked in 2 minutes later. Boom.
Very inspiring.
You're like, I was there. I photographed the cocaine bear. Because, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of fun facts I want to share about this movie. The first is that this film is loosely inspired by the events surrounding a 175 pound American black bear that died after ingesting a duffel bag full of cocaine in December of 1985. Man, Nathan, the years look good on you, man. You're doing great with the aging part.
Thanks.
The cocaine had been dropped out of an airplane piloted by Andrew Thornton II, a former narcotics officer and convicted drug smuggler, because his plane was carrying too heavy a load. And then, much like we see in the movie, spoilers for the first 30 seconds, Thornton then jumped out of the plane with a faulty parachute and died. And the bear, who died sometime after consuming the cocaine, was found 3 months later in northern Georgia alongside 40 open plastic containers of cocaine. So that's the origin story.
It's like they decided that the bear just didn't have a good enough ending, so they created their own.
Well, see, here's the thing, Laron. There's a lot we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we know this guy died jumping out of the airplane, and then we know that a bear was eventually found who died after ingesting cocaine.
Yeah.
There was a whole thing. This is a true story. This is everything that we missed.
Yeah.
What's hard to believe is there were not several cocaine squirrels that were created from the same incident.
Like just the whole woodland area, just all the animals running amok.
It gets expensive. Yeah, Cocaine National Forest also doesn't have the same
Sequel,
ring
that's
to
where
it.
we're going. You better believe we're going there.
So here's another fun fact about this movie, a little surprising to me. This movie has really had a somewhat unexpected groundswell of support, like outside of the meme, because this movie has been a huge hit at the box office. It had a $23 million opening weekend, which for a non-IP, not based off a comic book, whatever, known property, is actually really successful, especially for a movie of the lower budget, like Cocaine Bear. And it has a 69, at the time of recording, a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe that's also part of the prank. It's a 69%. But people seem to be liking this movie, which leads me to ask the question, Nathan, as a person who has lived the Cocaine Bear story
Firsthand.
what is your take on this movie?
I'm pretty lukewarm on the Cocaine Bear. I did have somewhat high expectations.
How high?
Going into this Cocaine Bear high. I'm a fan of Elizabeth Banks, Wet Hot American Summer, one of my favorite comedies. So with her in the director's seat, I was expecting something a lot like goofier and funnier. I don't want to spoil too much, but it is a super violent. It's pretty gross more often than not. And after a certain point, the laughs kind of disappear and it takes a more heavy and sentimental route. But I was a little lukewarm on it. My biggest beef with the bear is that cocaine does so many different things to said bear. Makes him sleepy, makes him watch butterflies and trip out, makes him terribly angry sometimes to the point where he has superpowers and can jump into a moving ambulance. I wanted a few more rules for the Cocaine Bear, but there's probably somebody that said that on set and they got mauled immediately. But, it was an okay first couple acts, and the third act, it felt like they also, like the real Cocaine Bear, they're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to end this.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned someone on set probably saying, I'm a little confused about like why cocaine does all these things. And the Cocaine Bear was actually played by a mocap actor, the same one who played King Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong. So I can just imagine someone looking at the script and saying, wait, I don't understand. And he just looks over and he says, it's a coked up bear. There are no rules.
Right. What do you?
I have studied the bears for days, and let me assure you, there are no rules.
I'm gonna call my friend Andy Serkis, the only other guy that I'm aware that does this, and see if this is okay. He says it's fine. Have fun.
He says he's on the set of the Batman and his Alfred accent. He says it's fine. Okay, so a little bit lukewarm. It sounds like not the best bag of coked up bear, but Laron Chapman, what did you think of Cocaine Bear?
I'm pretty warm without being boiling hot on this. I had fun with it. I appreciated the spirited performances, particularly from Margot Martindale. I think she still runs away with the whole movie. And the cute two kids, they had some great moments together. I can't remember the actress's name, but she was in the Florida Project. She was great. I thought
That's the same kid.
that's the same girl. The girl that breaks your heart at the end of Florida Project was the little girl who took cocaine.
She does hold her own.
Yeah, she holds her own. And I thought the two kids had a funny dynamic between them. I think there were a little too many characters and some that were kind of inconsequential or underutilized or just didn't have much to say comedically or narratively. So I think that's where it kind of gets in the way, where it's like pulls away from the more interesting parts of its absurd premise instead of like really just leaning into it. When it does lean into it, though, like it's a blast. Like there were 3 or 4 set pieces in this where I literally was like crying in tears laughing, but admittedly they are kind of few and far between as it goes along. But I think there was just enough for me to service saying like this was a solid 90 minutes. At the theater, with the premise and a title of Cocaine Bear. Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably come down in the middle between you two. I'm like slightly warmer than you, Nathan. I think because the sort of like set pieces that Laron described. I think there's at least 3.
3 solid ones, yeah.
Three that I really, I'm like, this is why I showed up to the movie. Especially the one with the that involved the ambulance.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard that like people in the audience started looking at me. Like, dude,
are you on cocaine?
I'm dead serious though. I was like,
put that brick down, sir.
And it was just, it was masterful, and yet the story in between the set pieces just is not there. The characters are not quite there. They try, but I didn't find any of the characters particularly compelling. I mean, outside of like the ones that had a single shtick.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah.
It's the ones where they actually tried to flesh it out. I'll be honest, the entire Carrie Russell subplot, I was like, I don't care at all about any of this. And that's sort of like the emotional beat. Anytime this film is leaning into the very transgressive, super gory humor, I'm all there. I think it's great. Whenever it's leaning on very tired Hollywood tropes because it doesn't know what else to do, which unfortunately I would say is the majority of the movie, I think this movie is a huge missed opportunity.
Sure.
It's a movie that at just over 90 minutes, I still felt like it could have been 25 minutes shorter, which is weird.
It dragged in parts, especially in the middle. And I'm like, 90 minutes, guys.
Why isn't why am I bored on someone's neck right now? Why am I listening to this conversation?
When they do a fair amount of setup too, because I remember thinking, okay, so you get the tease with the bear at the very beginning,
sure,
and then I didn't time it, but it felt like a solid like 20 plus minutes before the bear does anything again,
sure.
And the whole time I was like, I know washed up Han Solo is supposed to be kind of charming, and I do love O'Shea Jackson Jr. pretty much anytime he's doing anything. But I'm like, I get it. We're all gonna go to this mountain and things are gonna happen. Let's just get us all there. I don't need to understand. I really don't care why you're there. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't care.
It almost needed to be more kitschy, like a little bit more. Just lean into the absurd, because it feels like when it's not doing those, like when it's not revving it up to 110, that it's really just kind of treading water.
Exactly.
And that should never be what you describe when you're talking about a B movie that's supposed to be just a blast in that sense.
But the highs did it for you.
The highs did it for me. There's just enough. There was just enough for me to be like, okay, I have 3 moments that I will go back and rewatch. You know what I mean? Like that's how I look at it.
It's like, it feels like a YouTube miniseries. It could have been a YouTube miniseries, and it would have been better, because that's the thing. I will absolutely pull up those 3 set pieces when I think about them and watch them again on YouTube. No doubt. Yeah. Am I ever going to sit down and watch this movie ever, like a whole from start to finish ever again? No. Would I watch it if it's playing on, I mean, back in the old days, whenever we had cable and things just popped up on TV, would I have sat and watched it on the Sci-Fi Channel while I was doing my homework or something? Yeah, probably. Yeah. But so Nathan, it sounds like the movie didn't live up to the meme for you then.
No, not really. I wanted more from Cocaine Bear. Give me like 3 characters to care about, as opposed to the kind of mixed bag. And you mentioned the 2 kiddos. They are good. They're probably the stronger performances in the movie. Some of the characters probably could have taken some notes from those two kids. But give me more of that good stuff, because they honestly, I was like, where did they go?
They were so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. They have a couple. I mean, even without the bear, they're like when it's just the kids in the scene by themselves without the bear. Those are really fun scenes. I also thought there's like a little gang of teenagers that was kind of funny too. I should say, well used, well deployed, stereotypical teenagers. I should say. I didn't really like the characters, but they were really fun to watch. Laron, so the movie does live up to the meme for you.
For me, I'll share it. I won't share it next week, but I'll share it. I'll share it this week. You know what I mean? Like it'll, so just, I don't think that's an instant classic by any means. But I guess it made for, and honestly, I think what really helped with my screening in particular was I saw it with a packed house of people who were all into it. We'll see how I feel about it next, when it's streaming or when it's on,
Was the crowd like cheering for the bear?
I was cheering for. I was Team Bear, guys. I'm not even. Were you guys not on Team Bear?
I think outside of the kids, they didn't care who got ripped up.
Jimmy Carter comes on screen and they're like, "Get him,
get him, cheer him." They were cheering.
That was an unexpected cameo, I have to say. It was also really
pro bear crowd. You need to understand this.
I do think it was hilarious. Again, I don't know if it really adds any sort of like weight to the movie. It was kind of fun to see those anti-drug PSAs they played in the 80s used as the backdrop at the beginning. Basically, as if the filmmakers were like, "You see those? These were total bullshit. Coke is awesome. Just look at it. Look at the bear." That's what I mean. That was sort of like my takeaway. A little tongue in cheek. Well, I guess, the other big thing I just want to hit on here is the VFX. Again, as I mentioned, this was a mocap bear. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew it was CG.
Yeah. But they used Weta, right? The same Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings,
tech.
Avatar, Planet of the Apes.
It's wild. They just committed that much to that.
They've lowered the bar for what they will pour all of their time and attention into. If you ask really nicely, they'll make whatever you want.
Hey, Laron, I got an idea for your next movie.
Uh-oh.
We should maybe ask them really nicely about the sequel, Cocaine Squirrel.
Cocaine Squirrel. It needs to be squirrels. There needs to be like an army of squirrels that are just like salivating, foaming at the mouth.
And we can have Andy Serkis can play the squirrels, all of them.
Absolutely. All 30
At once.
At once. Yes, exactly.
He can do it.
He can do it. He can pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness! Well, but the VFX work for you?
I think that's what did work for me. As honestly, like it was a hybrid of this hyper realism and then also this cartoonish, like to remind you that you're watching a satire, like not to take this too seriously. But it was just menacing and visceral enough whenever it gets down and dirty, when it actually does go and lean into that. That it worked effectively, where I was like, oh, that's gnarly. You know what I mean? Like where it didn't take me out of it. It feels real enough, but also absurd enough that I can, you know what I mean, live in that weird realm between those two universes. So yeah, I thought it was employed really well.
Nathan, did that CG sell you on the cocaine bear? Did it look like the real thing?
I just wish they would have used a real cocaine.
Where were all the bears?
I know you can train those, and frankly, I feel like they didn't even try. No, the bear works. The bear works very well. They clearly put their time and attention. Like, who better to try to bring something like that to life than that crew? So, as far as the look and feel and some of the badass growls from the bear, that'll work just fine.
So, we're not doing a spoiler section, but I will say, related to some technical decisions, they had the most bizarre editing choice towards the end of the third act, related to the hiker that we see in the tease. You know what I'm referring to?
Like the little bumper that they have towards the end?
Also, there's the one at the beginning where we see the hiker, right?
I did wonder, where did he go? He ran off, but then
people discover him later, and what I consider to be one of the most bizarre editing choices I've seen in a movie in a very long time. It's one of those things where they flash back to something that just happened, and you're like, wait, why did you
that
flash
could have
back?
just been a scene.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be
I remember you. You have an enormous beard, and you started the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Tormund Giantsbane is here, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, we'll talk about it more off air because I don't want to spoil it, but there's definitely like I have to say, well, every once in a while, I normally don't worry too much about editing unless it's just actively like I can't follow what's going on. I followed what was going on, but I was like, how... It feels like they had a bad take they didn't want to use, so they're like, but we got this shot. So like, what if we just frame it like a flashback? Mm-hmm. It's a very weird choice. It's not a deal breaker. It's just such a small detail. But I don't know. There was a few weird things like that where I was like, why did you edit it that way?
Yeah.
And because it feels intentional and it's not necessarily
they forgot
bad.
and they just tacked it on at the end. Like, oh, we didn't put this in. It's fine. They won't care. Put it in the credits. Mm-hmm. They'll be fine.
Well, I will say I did wait through the credits because I was sure we were going to get a Cocaine Bear 2 teaser. And let me tell you.
You got a growl.
We did get a growl, but
so maybe that's...
Cocaine Bear is not going to be in the King Wars or whatever. So it's unfortunate. I know. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and give our letter grade here. I feel like there's not much more to say about the Cocaine Bear than what we've said. But Laron Chapman, what letter grade would you give Cocaine Bear?
I'm going to go right with a B with this. Like just smack down the middle with a B. I think it's that kind of a quintessential B movie. And I think it delivered on the gnarly thrills that I wanted from this. I do wish it was a little tighter and maybe even a little nastier, but I was happy enough with it. So I'll give it a B.
B, man. That is a really strong rating, Laron.
Is it strong?
I'm glad you liked. I'm glad
just bumped it up to 70%, buddy. Way to go!
That's
You're
very
right.
nice.
You're right. It's 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, according to Laron and the Cinematropolis. Right
Why
now.
would you take it off 69?
You monster.
C plus 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 plus.
Well, see, yeah, but you can also still submit it as a negative. Okay, anyway, Rotten Tomatoes is weird, guys. Nathan Poppe, what letter grade would you give Cocaine Bear?
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna give the B movie a C-. Mostly due to my gripes from before. I don't think that's going to bother, and it hasn't bothered a lot of people as much as me. But yeah, probably not running out to see that anytime soon. But I do want to give it some credit for starting off with the same song that Wet Hot American Summer did. It came in hot at the beginning, and I got super jazzed on that. So
it was a strong, like the whole opening plus the teaser at the front, like all of that was super fun.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie did not live up to the tease. I'm also going to give it a C-. I was thinking straight C, but I will watch the clips on YouTube, and the fact that like that's where my head is like, yeah, that means this is not a very good movie. The sequences are amazing.
Sure.
And I just wish the rest of the movie and the main plot could have leaned into the really ridiculous gore silliness of it. SNL sketch, Wet Hot American Summer, like make the whole movie feel like that.
I was kind of like hoping for a Cocaine Bear meter, and it slowly fills up, and you see it at the bottom of your screen.
He's gassing up. It's coming up.
And
Power's up.
You're just like, oh, here it comes.
Every time he swallows another block, it's just, oh shit, here it goes.
That would have been my advice. But.
That would be incredible. That is a great video game.
You should have wrote this movie.
Adaptation choice. I would have watched the hell out of that. Oh, and then the crowd goes crazy whenever it shoots up after a kill or
that would have been hilarious.
Oh,
really,
man.
like every single time, it would get the audience excited, like watching a video game. Though it's like, holy shit.
Maybe Cocaine Bear just should have been a video game then? Is that?
I think it will be now. But I'd play it.
I played Untitled Goose Game. I would play Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear? I think that would. Yeah, I think you're right.
The movie, the game.
The movie, the game. Well, speaking of video games, whether you liked it or not, what would be another thing you'd recommend in the same vein as Cocaine Bear, whether it be a movie, television show, novel, song, video game? Nathan Poppe, what you got?
Man, the perfect marriage of like humor and guts and gore is always going to be Shaun of the Dead for me. Different tone, and we've got plenty of zombies and infected out there, but man, what a perfect blend of the two things. So as far as like horror comedy goes, that is the tip top of my list. Funny, smart, gross, weird. That's tip top. Also, I just want to say Wet Hot American Summer one more time. Everybody should see it.
Did you watch the Netflix series?
I tried.
It's weird.
I tried.
It's a very bizarre. There's two of them actually. I think there's like two seasons.
It's confusing.
It is very confusing. I didn't realize it was a the first season's a prequel, I guess, right? I don't know. See, it's confusing. Laron Chapman, what would you recommend alongside Cocaine Bear?
The two things that come to mind are Tucker and Dale versus Evil came to mind when I watched this. Not nearly as sharp as that, but and then Piranha 3D from God, I don't know how long ago that was now. I haven't really revisited to see if it's still any good, but I liked it a lot in theaters. And it's just, piranhas, maiming people in the ocean. So it's about the same level of storytelling, as this one. So yeah. If you're looking for B movie thrills, you just want to see people get ripped apart.
Piranha 3D.
We got you.
So I have two. Number one, sort of similar to the vein that Nathan laid out in terms of like a good horror comedy that leans into a fun kind of genre idea. I'm going to go with Planet Terror, which is one half of the Grindhouse double feature, the one that was directed by Robert Rodriguez. Again, sort of another zombie riff, but I like that because it fully is committing to B movies, but with like a massive budget. It's wild, and it's clearly a love letter to silly B movies of old, and I feel like Cocaine Bear would have been better served if they leaned into that type of old school B movie thrills sort of thing throughout the entire movie, versus trying to have this weird sentimental, I don't want to say it's the A plot, but kind of, I guess it is the A plot that was the main driving emotional thread in the story. I lean into the silliness, guys. Secondly, I'm going to recommend my favorite bear in fiction, Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie, the N64 classic. Listeners can't see. I've got it on my shelf over here along with the N64. And yeah, exactly. It's just a great game. It's charming. He's got a bird in his backpack that lets him fly around. He collects jigsaw puzzle pieces, music notes. He likes music. Come on, what's not to love? He likes collecting stuff. But if I want a charming bear experience, I play Banjo-Kazooie. Available right now on Nintendo Switch Online. I wish they would pay me to say that.
I did not think Banjo-Kazooie would have entered this conversation, but then
here we are. I didn't think cocaine and bears would enter our conversation a few months ago, but here we are.
Here we are. I've been looking for years for an opportunity to bring up Banjo-Kazooie in a conversation related to movies that actually made any sense. So I think that was check it off the bucket list. With that said, let's move into our second film of the day, Creed 3.
I spent the last 7 years of my life living out my wildest dreams. Bianca, Rocky, my dad. This was built on their shoulders. Hey, my man, can I help you?
Let me get an autograph.
No, I ain't signing no autographs, but you get off my car.
You don't remember me, huh?
Damien. How long were you locked up?
18 years, bro. Just got out last week.
Glad to have you back out, huh?
I know I've been away a long time, but I kept myself in shape. I still got gas in the tank.
Come by the gym.
Thank you.
Curious what happened with you two?
I didn't tell you. We was like brothers. I was the best, though. But I never got a chance to prove that.
According to IMDb, Creed 3 is described as Adonis has been thriving in both his career and family life, but when a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy, that's played by Jonathan Majors, very important detail, resurfaces, the face-off is more than just a fight. This is the third film in the Creed trilogy, which is a spin-off of the Rocky series. So it's actually the 9th film set in the Rocky universe. It's the third to star Michael.
Just call it Philadelphia, I thought. But go on.
Yeah. Well, Atlanta's got the TV show. Philadelphia's got Creed, apparently,
Yeah.
This is also Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut, and Ryan Coogler, famously of Black Panther, the film's also the first film's director from 2015, did receive a story and executive producer credit, which I just want to note was an important detail. I kind of had forgotten that he'd worked on the first one. And I really, I guess I'm playing my hand a little here, but I liked the story, and I was like, oh man, that was a lot better than I thought. And then his name showed up on the story credits, and I was like,
That's why.
there we go. Gentlemen, what did you think of Creed 3? Laron Chapman, I'll start with you.
Man, I actually caught it today, like just
This
ahead.
is fresh on the mind. Then.
Fresh on the mind.
He's literally sweating through the sweatshirt.
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm still in the ring. But I really love the performances in this, from everyone, even the supporting, Felicia Rashad is the mom. Tessa Thompson's really good in this as well. And, it's nice seeing her not being relegated to just the wife at home role. They really give her some dimension and, and dynamic there. She has a lot of agency and a lot to say in certain moments. She influences him in a big way. But man, I mean, we'll get into it later. But man, Jonathan Majors is having a year. I mean, even
he's a movie star, guys. You know how there's just certain actors where you're like, this guy's a movie star. He's got the thing.
Even in movies I don't care for, he's good in them. He's a standout. So
he owns the screen every time he's there. Just all the energy. When he's acting opposite of Michael B. Jordan, who also has he's not short on charisma.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think really solid direction from him. It felt like a very confident debut. And then he kind of had a lot to he was saddled with a lot, to do this by himself. So, but he didn't though, because like you said, we had Ryan Coogler. But yeah, so I'm really, really pretty favorable on this. Really love the backstory too. We'll get into that as we go on. But yes, I'm really hot on this one.
Laron is hot. Again, he's literally hot off of it. He's sweating through the sweatshirt. Not really. Nathan, Poppe, what did you think of Creed 3?
It's pretty spicy. I liked it. I feel like Rocky 5 set the bar so low for every Rocky film moving forward that your expectations going into a Rocky movie are these guys are going to beat the hell out of each other. And I am going to sit and enjoy this. But the performances in this, as you've already stated, do really elevate it. Jonathan Majors is like the perfect. I couldn't pick a more perfect foil for him if you let me cast anybody. Like he brings it. He is the pretty perfect villain.
Yeah.
In this role, I really enjoyed it. I can tell you this: Michael B. Jordan loves anime.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
If you peep his childhood room in the movie, the walls will tell you what you need to know.
Makes so much sense now.
As far as what really pushed him. And that was probably one of the cooler things outside of the performances is that this kind of looks and feels a little different than previous Creed entries.
Yeah.
And we're trying to keep the spoilers. We're not having any. But the final fight, which that's not a spoiler. There's always a final fight in a Rocky in a Creed movie. Very different than anything I would have, one, either expected, and two, just very different.
Yeah.
And kind of they took a swing with it when these movies do, for the most part, thematically, story-wise, keep it relatively safe. Because, again, it's going to end with two people pummeling the crap out of each other. But, I can't imagine how hard it is to, shoot boxing and that action and make it look interesting and then change it up and add some new elements. And I do not know anything about boxing, but probably some of the stronger fights. There's not a ton of boxing in this. There's plenty of drama. But when it is boxing time, you are they pull it off.
Yeah.
Which also feels like another anime trope within itself, which is there's always a lot of build up to the big thing, but then when the big thing happens, it's usually they deliver. I likewise really dug this movie way more than I thought I would. I thought 2 was just okay on it. Like it wasn't the first one. I still think is exceptional. Just beat expectations on every level. Had things to say about race in America, about Rocky as a character. It just was a huge surprise.
And it was kind of a proof of concept too, because it was like, can we do this without Stallone being the star of the movie? And it worked. It worked. So
I don't even think they said his name.
Oh, they do in this one?
They say it one time. It's whenever he's trying
Rocky?
to... Yeah.
one time,
Yeah.
and it's very offhand, and he like mentions an old game that.
So all I'll say is I'll keep it vague, but basically Michael B. Jordan is trying to persuade another boxer to do a fight, and one of the ways he did it was by saying, "Yeah, Rocky fought Apollo Creed, and that's and that was a huge fight." So he's trying to sell someone on the idea, and he just uses Rocky as an example. That's the only reference.
I expected a lot more, and honestly, I was like, maybe it's okay that they didn't, but I expected them to do that, to lean into it. Like, if he's not here, they're going to be heavy on the references, and they weren't.
I actually think that was a good choice.
Yeah,
I think that it works for the film because, okay, so you guys have already hit on the performances, which are stellar, the anime kind of visual style, which I think is really innovative. And again, I'm like you, Nathan. I don't know anything about boxing, but just kind of the dynamics, the personal dynamics, and being able to read how the individuals are feeling in the moment based off of how they're throwing punches and how they're receiving punches. It's again framed almost exactly like you'd see in an anime. I really, it took it up a couple notches for me. Maybe it's because I like anime, but it really worked for me. But the other thing I would say is, you know, there have been how many air quotes Lega sequels or requels, if you want to call them. I'm so mad at Scream for using the term requel because it was already a thing separately. But I mean, you've got, the Jurassic World franchise, you've got the Star Wars franchise, you got the Terminator franchise twice. I mean, like there's been so many attempts by Hollywood studios to do this whole, we're going to bring back the old gang and they're going to, pass the torch to the new gang. But almost universally, that never actually happens. What you have is you have the old gang come back. People like the old game because it's nostalgic. They give them way more to do than they probably should.
Yeah,
it diminishes the screen time the new gang gets, and then by the time they get to the third one, they're like, "Oh crap! People are way more interested in the old gang than the new gang." And it's not very good. Like it just fails almost across the board.
Yeah. And
I think Creed 3 might be one of the handful of examples. The only other franchise that came to mind would be the Star Trek franchise, 2009. We get the original Spock is in the 2009 Star Trek, and he's phased out in later films, and it really is but that's the only other franchise I can think of where it's like, oh no, this is Creed's movie.
Yeah.
Rocky is mentioned.
Yeah.
But he's in no way influencing the story, the character motivations. He's not really here.
Yeah.
And I think what it does is it provides a lot more creative opportunities for the Creed character. They could continue him down this path where he becomes the old Rocky character.
Sure.
They could say, they could pull him back in Rocky 4 style where he has to come back into the ring and overcome. I mean, there's just so many more options they could take now that we don't have to worry about, what's Rocky doing? And also, not to spoil the second film, I guess, but Rocky gets a really nice send-off in that second movie. Whereas if he never shows up again, I feel like we're in great shape.
Yeah.
So, all that's to say, I think that one thing I really admire about Creed 3 is it takes that Lega sequel concept, executes it successfully without taking swings at Rocky, but also not letting the Rocky legacy dictate where the story goes next, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But one other thing I want to talk about though is the scale, because thinking back about 2. We have 1, the reintroduction. You have the second one where they amp up the stakes to Rocky 4 levels. Oh, literally fighting the what's his bucket's son from in Creed 2. Drago's kid, right? And he's this giant beefy machine, much like Drago from Rocky 4. This one takes things a lot more personal. It takes it back to a more personal level. Not that Jonathan Majors is not a physical threat, but he's definitely not this towering behemoth of a man that seems impossible to beat. So I'll start with you, Nathan. I mean, did you think this was kind of focusing more on the personal story of 3 versus the scale? Did that work pretty well for you overall when you think about the whole series?
Yeah, I think. What other direction can you go? Because, he's kind of at the top. I will say that maybe one of the bigger weaknesses in this film is just how befuddled Michael B. Jordan's character Adonis gets. Jonathan Majors really throws him for a loop. And at times it almost feels like for someone that's been in the boxing world for so long, he just gets his ass kicked verbally. He just almost seems like he's so out of touch, but He did provide a pretty fantastic foil to him, so I get that. But bringing in the more personal thing, adding kind of like that element of he is terrified of that trauma from his past is about as great an internal conflict as you could probably bring into it. Because who else is going to take down the champ?
Who else is going to be able to get him to do the stuff he does in this movie? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of crazy, right? Because, well, we can't spoil the movie, but I would say Jonathan Majors, because he knows Adonis from Dame's his character's name.
Yeah.
Damien knows him from a past life. He's able to get Adonis to do a bunch of stuff that, and professionally, like no one would ever do.
Right.
Like it, but because it's a friend and because he's Adonis Creed at the top, he makes some choices, right? I don't know. That was pretty interesting because I hear you. It seems like he's constantly like, I don't know how to handle this. It's like he just doesn't know how to react when it's trauma, you know, which is interesting. But Laron, what did you think?
Yeah, I think as soon as the backstory is introduced, and like he says, it takes a more personal tone. I think right as soon as that happens, that's when we see now where the franchise can go. You know, if they continue on with more stories outside of the Rocky narrative, because now we realize now that Adonis is this complex character. He has a background. He has, you know, there's enough meat on its bones at this point now to kind of mine new territory. And I think that I stopped thinking about it as a Rocky movie and more about this kind of, more of a character study of Adonis, even more than the first two films kind of introduced. And so I think it was a really smart move, and I think it really added an emotionally resonant, character arc for him, so.
I wasn't even thinking about Rocky during this movie. And I think I would honestly say I was during the first two.
Yeah. You almost couldn't not.
Impossible not to, but I didn't think about Rocky.
Yeah.
Until I left and I went, did they even say?
Yeah. It really is like a pat. You could miss it. It's super easy.
You can watch this by itself and still be effective. I think obviously there's some benefit to watching the other two, but I do think it works as a standalone story.
Is that Nathan, maybe I should turn to you. here, is that a feature or a bug for you?
No, that's smart. That's the way to do it. Make it, it's Creed. It's the third Creed. It should be Creed's show. So I think it's the smartest way to handle that, because there could be so many different angles and interesting things to explore in Adonis. So I didn't miss it.
I did read some not too much behind the scenes juice, but I was kind of curious. I did some research on it, and I guess the reason Sly wasn't in this is because he didn't like the direction they decided to go. But honestly, I wouldn't have known that the movie seems like it was built without him in mind at all.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't. Yeah, you don't feel that. It doesn't feel like it's missing that. You know what I mean? Like they found a way to tell the story without it.
Well, thinking about, I've already talked about this sort of the context of trilogies. Laron, I'll turn to you here. How would you kind of compare this to other third trilogy entries? Would you? This is pretty solid, above average, below average.
I think this is pretty solid. I think it's actually surprising, because I actually would have expected this one to be the weakest entry. And just next to the first Creed, I think it's my favorite, so, and there's aspects of this I like more even than that one, but a lot had to be established first for us to care about Michael B. Jordan's character. And so the first one has to kind of get it just by default. But I actually think it's a really strong entry. I love the bond between him and Jonathan Majors' character. I love a lot that's not said about the two of them. You can see they're both wrestling with things. The way that he feels that he has to do something to kind of atone for the situation, that happens between them. You understand that, and it makes their bond and the conflict between them a little bit more complex, so that we're not really rooting for either one of them to fail, really. There's something, they're going about it in different ways, and
they're both victims of the system, which I think was a nice, race in America, which was a prominent theme, especially, all three of them, but especially the first one.
Yeah.
And it seemed, because that's the thing, you're not really, you understand why both characters are kind of coming to do what they do, and it seems, and you're kind of rooting for both of them,
right? Which makes the final SmackDown that much more man, I'm invested, because it's not one sided. You're not just you have a little bit of a stake, for both of them. And obviously, we're not telling spoilers, but a little conversation, and you guys, now that you've seen the film, know between the two of them, that they have in the dressing room at the end of the story is really. I really love what was said, about how we can't, like you said, we're products of this system. You know what I mean? Like we were kids, and we can't really, you know what I mean? Like we can't blame one or the other for what's happened. If the cards were decked, passed against us. So I really like that sentiment there at the end. I think it really tied everything up really nicely. So
Nathan, what about you? What did you think about this as in the context of like a trilogy ender?
About as solid as you can get. Having recently watched Jurassic World Dominion,
oh, I'm sorry.
You can just crash and burn a trilogy, and like I didn't even care that they did it. That's how bad. I'm like, I was not interested in finding out where any of you ended up. So for it to like,
if I ever did care, this movie made me like walk that back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like it
whatever the one was before that. That's where I checked out, and then by the time this came, like you said, I was no longer invested. I'm exhausted. I don't care, and wow, we're going really off the rails here. And I like you said, wasn't invested after The Lost World. So
I do appreciate the boxing movie theme of when you beat the hell out of somebody in a previous movie, they will become your best friend down the road. That
it's amazing.
Cracks me up. I'm like, didn't you guys just hate each other?
Right.
Wait a second. But
there's a bond that's formed when someone beats the crap out of you in a public event that the whole world's watching.
I wouldn't know. I haven't gotten into a heavyweight title boxing match yet. But as far as a way to end this, like it's a trilogy that I didn't even know that I wanted. I had never sat around and said, wonder if Creed had any other kids I don't know about.
Right.
So the first, definitely the strongest of the trilogy, 2 solid, and 3 didn't slack, and solid movie. Mm-hmm. Had a good time.
That's great. Man, I just it's so refreshing to have a third entry that like doesn't suck.
I will say it definitely helps to watch the first 2 before you. I wouldn't go into this one blind. So if anybody's listening and like, do I need the other Creeds? Yes. Do I need the other 6 Rockies? You do not.
I believe both of the Creed movies are both on Amazon Prime currently. So
HBO Max.
And HBO. HBO Max. Okay. Yeah. Good note. I mean, not too much to add to what you two have said. I think, Nathan, you laid it out well. Jurassic World Dominion, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, there's a lot of bad trilogies out there.
It's hard to do this. So they really accomplished something pretty remarkable.
I know I've seen some people say it's fairly safe, and Nathan, you even said it earlier, but I actually think, that's okay. I will just leave you with this. And this is something that I walked away thinking. The Scream trilogy.
Yeah.
The original Scream trilogy, right? You know how...
Be specific.
Be specific.
not the one that is unfolding in front of us.
The requel, we're on the sequel.
You know how we get to the Randy Meeks scene in the third one where he kind of lays out the rules of the trilogy that then the movie itself does not follow, actually? Yeah. I think this movie, like, it makes me think, I'm like, the Creed trilogy did that. The first one establishes the stakes, meet the characters, here's the stakes, here's kind of what we're doing. The second one ratchets it up. Things are more intense, stakes are higher than ever. And the third one, you introduce unknown backstory that adds more color to the entire trilogy and puts a pin on all of it. And I was like, I think the Creed trilogy did that.
They did do that.
And if you want to put Jonathan Majors in every movie,
I will watch it.
I will watch it.
Scream 7. Put him in there.
Like, why is the ghost
Make
so
him
buff?
Ghostface. Yeah, but Ghostface is ripped.
Who did it?
Those arms.
Who's the ghost?
Those arms.
Everyone's, I feel so safe in your arms, Ghostface.
Guys, who's the killer? I have no idea.
Yeah, my gosh. But yeah, Majors, man, I mean, I'm really excited for his career because, like, I mean, just this year alone, I mean, we got, like you said, I didn't love Ant-Man, but he was good in it.
He was a standout.
He was good in it, and he's obviously is great here. And then we got Magazine Dreams coming out with Sundance Darling. I'm excited to watch that. But just, I mean, when he, kind of came onto the scene with The Last Black Man in San Francisco, like that was
such a different character too. From
he has
what
range.
we see today.
And
that's what works so well with even this character.
Yeah, yeah.
Like feels small and shy. And before long, he finally, the sweatshirt's off, and you're like, oh
shit.
my God, there's
I'm
no
scared
way.
of him.
He, a punch isn't going to do anything to this.
No.
He's a beast. It's it's impressive. He made a big splash with that movie. I think that movie, I mean, again, that was a great way film to sort of like showcase his talent.
Yeah.
And he's since then he's been cast in so many different projects, and he's exceptional in all of them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one thing where I haven't been like, this guy.
I even liked him in that HBO show,
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft, yeah.
Yeah. No, he was excellent
in that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Jonathan Majors, watch out, ladies and gentlemen. He is coming for the Oscars.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's wrap up here with letter grades. Nathan, I'll start with you on this one. What letter grade would you give Creed 3?
B+.
B+. All right. Much better than that C-. Laron Chapman.
See, I was oscillating between a B+ and an A- on this, and I mean, I think I need to see it a second time before I secure that. But I'll stick with B+ as well. I think it's a really solid, genre film. Again, made me care about a sports movie. I kind of hate sports movies, and unless they have Samuel Jackson in them, and so it just to get me invested in a boxing movie again that's not like Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby or something, then is unheard of. So the fact that I was as into this as I was when I was watching it actually surprised me quite a bit. About midway through, I was like, I'm really liking this movie. So
like you're almost liking it. Two things for me that happened. One is I was like so into it. I was like, holy cow, I kind of don't want this movie to end because I'm like
enjoying it. Yeah.
Just enjoying
rematch.
Like, but even before they get to the final fight,
not like Cocaine Bear, where I'm like, God, how long is this 90-minute movie? This is like
it's 2 hours. Creed 3's 2 hours,
flies.
and it just didn't. I couldn't tell you how long it was. I was just having a good time the whole time.
Yeah, great story. There was a second thing that I forgot, but. Needless to say, great movie. I'm going to give it an A-. I'll commit. I just think the challenge of doing a third movie and the fact that I think it landed it so successfully. Again, maybe it didn't like reinvent the wheel, but I think in this case it was that was the right choice to make, and it really paid off emotionally for me. So yeah, A-. Maybe I'll even oscillate up to an A on a rewatch, I hope. I kind of think I need to rewatch the whole. That's what I'm saying. It's so good. I want to go back and rewatch the whole trilogy.
I want to compare them. That's what I'll know. I'll submit my rating on that. But yeah.
So last thing, alternate media recommendation here: movie, television show, novel. Laron Chapman, start with you.
I'm going to go with. I want you guys to explore these actors' work. So I'm going to say Fruitvale Station, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. And then if you like boxing movies that are more dramatic, $1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby, pulling that one off the shelf.
Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby.
It's very good for the Oscar season that we're in right now. So
I think the reason I recommend that one because I won't say tonally it's the same. It's more so that it's a character-driven story that happens to surround around boxing, and it doesn't really, you don't have to love the sport to get invested in the story. And I think that's what they accomplished with Creed 3. So,
all right, very impressive. Nathan Poppe, what would you recommend?
I'm such a sucker for boxing movies, so I could trail off a few. I like Cinderella Man.
I do like that one.
That's a good one.
Holds up surprisingly well.
Russell Crowe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Renee Zellweger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a not Clint Eastwood. What is his name? Opie from
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard film.
Oh, he directed that?
Yep.
Oh, snap.
Yep.
Okay.
I know. No, people don't mention it enough.
Nobody saw that movie.
Like the fact that you said it, and I'm like, I forgot about that movie, and I really liked it when I saw it.
So, I'm not going to sit here, and this is not a Ron Howard podcast, but I just have to say.
It is now. It is now.
I just have to say, I think there's a significant generation, maybe a generational thing, maybe it's millennials or Gen Z, but there's a lack of respect for Ron Howard as a really top-notch. He's not a flashy director, but he's really solid.
When he's good, he's good. Like even Rush, when that came out sometime back, I was like, why I care way too much about this racing movie.
I was like, I don't give a shit about racing, but this movie, I'm in it. All right. But okay, Cinderella Man, anything else?
Not as strong, but Southpaw is pretty decent. Jake Gyllenhaal, bringing his A game on that one. So another solid boxing entry. I would suggest Southpaw. And I'll just have to echo The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Everything about that movie, from the soundtrack to the performances, it's just it's one of those movies that just reminds you why you like movies in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully more people will go and check that out once they see Jonathan Majors in this and Ant-Man and all the other stuff that he is destined to rock very shortly.
Absolutely. I'm so excited the world is discovering him right now.
I think we're seeing a young Denzel or a young, I don't know, whatever, comparatively, something like that. Like the makings of a star is going to have staying power, and just going to, his dominated in every role he's in continue. So.
It's so easy to say like, oh, they're the next fill in the blank. But he's absolutely going to be.
He's the best part of everything he's in.
The next whatever. Yeah, exactly.
And like he's in a lot of good everything he does is other than Ant-Man. It's pretty good. Like, and he's the best part of all of it, I think. Not much other to add. That final scene of Last Black Man of San Francisco, more specifically not the last scene, but like the kind of segue to the credits.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. With the music, the song moves me to tears. Not because it's like sad, it's just such a beautiful artistic visual. The music with the imagery of what's happening on the screen in the context of the story you just witnessed is just deeply, God,
it's good stuff.
It's a great movie. So yeah, I will echo that as the third. If you have not seen The Last Black Man in San Francisco, go check that out. I'm also going to recommend Scott Pilgrim versus the World. We've all seen that. That is another movie that lives heavily from anime in terms of like its visual style for the fight sequences. I think it does it really, really well. I'm going to throw out the anime One Punch Man. If you want to lean into anime that has fighting sequences, and there's definitely some overlap in style there. And yeah, I'll leave it at those for today. I think that's plenty for the listener to chew on. But yeah, I think Nathan said it well. Go back and rewatch the other movies too. Well, gentlemen, based on our letter grades, I'm gonna assess that we're coming down pretty well. This is more like a, I don't know, what's a good Rocky match that's just a total blowout.
Rocky versus Adrian.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
This is Adrian. Yeah.
She's also totally dead at this point, too. So.
Super dead.
You can edit this part out if you want to.
Laron.
Yes.
Cocaine Bear. I mean, it looks like Creed.
I think we know who won this battle. It's fine. Now, in the actual ring, there's another debate to be had. But if we're just comparing the merit of the films, then I think Creed 3 has this one in the bag.
So if people have to pick one movie to go see, they go see Creed 3.
It depends on their taste, but yeah, I think they'll probably get more out of Creed 3. They'll be more nourished by Creed 3.
So they're not. It's not just like it's like Cocaine Bear is like a pixie stick.
Cocaine Bear is like a icy that's a little watered down. A watered down icy, and then I think insert your favorite concession snack because I'm gonna say the wrong thing. I'm gonna say gourmet pretzels. Someone's gonna be like, they hate pretzels. So
whoa, gourmet pretzels.
I'm into it. The soft pretzels. I don't like hard pretzels. I like the soft ones. So with the nacho cheese because I'm trash.
All right, Nathan Poppe, what concession stand item would you compare these movies to?
We're gonna be here a while. I've got 10,000 thoughts about this.
It's mozzarella sticks.
Well, I would assume it sounds like you also like Creed 3 more than Cocaine Bear.
Got the need for Creed. Yeah, absolutely. It's just an all-around solid, fun time at the movies. Yeah.
All right, listeners. Well, there you have it. We have a double feature today. I think all of us are in agreement. I agree. Creed 3 is no contest. The better movie. Hopefully, if you're like us, you probably go see most of the stuff anyway. But in this case, if you're one of those people, you're listening and it's like neither one of these movies seem like the huge air quotes event movies. And you're like, well, I can only see one in February or beginning of March.
Yeah.
Make it Creed 3. That's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time. We're recording this on a Sunday evening. So out of your Sunday evenings to weigh in on both of these films, I want to let our listeners know where they can keep up with you and your work online. Nathan Poppe.
Yep, always on Twitter at Nathan Poppe, Poppe, and you can always pick up the latest edition of the Curbside Chronicle if you're living in Oklahoma City. Those are always wonderful places to see what I am cooking. Laron?
I'm never on Twitter unless to see what's trending, for that week, and then I'll go scroll through the tweets, but I don't make them. But you can follow all of my reviews on Letterboxd at black_Cinna_man, or you can follow me on Instagram at Black Movie Magic OKC. You can follow me under my name, Laron Chapman, on Facebook.
All right, listeners, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, all at Letter C Masters Talk. Again, Twitter, less and less these days, but usually tweeting about film, television, and video games, and Letterboxd for all my, a lot of times I'll take I'll write a longer version for Letterboxd, I'll shorten for Twitter or vice versa in there. So, but yeah, check out Letterboxd. Again, we keep selling the app. It's a great place to go. Letterboxd.com. You can track all of your movie reviews and see what Laron, Nathan, and I all think about movies.
Sorry, I was trying to find your letterbox and I didn't know there were ad experiences on here.
Those freaking ads.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you again next time when we return in 2 weeks for our review of Scream 6.
Also known as Ghostface Takes Manhattan.
I can't believe it's here already.